Alex, you know, the fact that I knew his mom first really kicked in because she was always a very deep thinker, and she and I would always have these wonderful conversations. And so the first time I really sat down with Alex and we talked at great length, that was the impression. I'm saying, man, this young man is like a little old man in some ways. Give us your influences as you were coming up to shape not just the way you view the world, but how you think about the world.
Absolutely. So like I have like a vivid memory when I was younger of not thinking that I wanted to be Will Smith, but thinking that I wanted to do things like Will Smith. Because in like 2005, Will Smith was on top of the world.
Yep.
Nowadays, who knows? But I remember just thinking that like I will grow up. I'm gonna just make. At the time, I wanted to like do movies all the time. I'm still doing film stuff, but like I wanted to be an actor and like do music and do whatever. But like I remember being like 4 or 6 and just knowing that like I was just gonna do creative stuff because someone like Will Smith was just always doing it, and like he had years and years of decades of entertainment and performing and stuff that was extremely inspirational. And then I think what I can put together now in hindsight is that there is a lot of human mentorship and inspiration and stuff. Like when you grow up in the hood, you usually just have access to TV, and that is what you like inspire off of, or this and that third and stuff. But first of all, shout out, I don't even know who runs I guess shout out to John Horan Garden Apartments for like even having programming in the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I had access to humans who were able to inspire me differently, like the different people that worked with us. Jake from the Kids Club.
Big Jake.
Yeah, amazing person and stuff. Obviously you, other people that have come through there and stuff, like, some of the, so like, like they would hire like young women and stuff to come, work with the kids and stuff. And it gave us like all the kids in the neighborhood, like we had like big sisters, big brothers, surrogate, like, father figure and mother, dynamic relationships with these people here. Because
Mm-hmm.
like when you're running a program like that in a neighborhood like that, the whole like it takes a village to raise a child becomes like really important and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, like creatively and everything, people like, Will Smith or just like any performer who doesn't limit themselves by anything. I could throw Scorsese in there, whoever, like that's my inspiration, is like, I know I'm an artist and I will always create, and I'm probably going to die in the middle of a project, like that kind of thing. And I love that. And I saw that from a young age, but also growing up, I've grown up inspired by the people around me that are doing great things and stuff. Like every time I've seen like I remember putting like you and Barack Obama in a box before, because I was like, oh, I can be a president because like Barack's a president, right? Like it's literally possible, or
Right.
like people have been on the moon before, I can go be on it. Never have had limitations. And then people like you walk into our lives and then like, say that as well. And it's like, oh, okay, when you're a kid, it's like whatever an adult says is truth. And so then when you say that, it's like, oh, but wow. Like, so a combination of high performance celebrities and community members.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Let me seize on something that you said, because it's something that I've lived by, and over time, I surround myself by people like this. You go back to those Kids Club days. Sherry Kenham, who's at the Housing Authority right now still.
I love Sherry.
Don't we all? I call her Cheryl lovingly. She's at the Housing Authority now in an administrative capacity, but she was running all these youth programs at the time, and she hired me. And I look at the group around us, the team that she assembled, Ryan Rowan, who is now my son's basketball coach, at St. Jude, and doing a wonderful job with Keisha, who's coaching now at Wilson, boys basketball. And, Jake, you mentioned Jake, Big Jake, who's a blue coat right now. Everybody that she had on that team, these were adults who genuinely cared about these kids. I mean, when I was the head of the Y-Teen Center, it was a fireable offense for the kids to feel like you didn't care about them. If I heard from these teens one too many times, Mr. Atkinson, I just don't think he or she even likes us. Like they act bothered by us. You got to go, because that's the mission. We're all here because of them, not just to collect a check. So for you, tell us how valuable it was to see, hear, and feel that the people pouring into you from that program in particular, and others, the fact that they genuinely cared and genuinely loved you and genuinely wanted to see you win. How much did that matter? And if that wasn't the case, how much would that have mattered?
Well, that was most definitely the case. And I think it mattered in the sense of, like, America in general forgets how neglected children in, poverty are. Whether it's your family working extra hours like my mom was, or whether it's your family literally just like not being around as much or whatever and stuff. Like, there's like some high percentage of children that are like on their own most of the day. And a huge thing for development is literally just like socializing and, positive, safe socializing and stuff. And so like the first thing is like just even having, access to people that wanted to socialize with these children and, do our homework with us and play games with us and this, that, and stuff from a developmental, had to slow down for that one, perspective. It was, it's extremely crucial. It's like, that's how we learn to like communicate with the world. That's how we learn to like work through our short anger issues and our short fuses and stuff, or our anxieties or whatever and stuff. Like there's a lot of people that don't get access to experience life socially because of whatever their circumstances may be and stuff. And then they grow up and then you have all these people that are kind of like jaded or this and that. So first and foremost and stuff, like they were able to, they provided an environment where like we could flourish as little people, right? And like gain these personalities and be funny and laugh about things as children, which is something that so many kids in neighborhoods like that don't get access to unless they're laughing about horrible things or doing bad stuff or, whatever and stuff, But then, further than that, to actually have those people care about us was like another important thing about social stuff is like we genuinely had friends, like beyond each other and stuff like that. We had people that we knew that cared about us, that we knew were happy to see us, that smiled at us when we came in there and stuff, that, like real friends that you have now, like as an adult and stuff, friends that would sit us down and say, hey, that wasn't cool. Friends that would not villainize us, but keep it real, be truthful, have patience, have grace and stuff. And definitely when you're a child, you don't even know what a real friend is like and stuff. And, those people, anybody working in a program like that, that really cares about what they're doing and stuff, because there's so many different programs in the city now. And I'm sure there were when I was younger. Those people that really care and like really do their job and stuff is like they're a part of your circle, like those become your friends and stuff, whether you know it or not, a full circle thing for me right now is that I'm doing shoe design classes in Erie public schools. And one of the schools I'm doing them in, I just finished at Edison Elementary School. That's the elementary school that I went to.
Yeah. And
it's amazing. But like every single kid that I work with in there is like my little buddy. And like they feel that, they know that, like they light up when I'm in there. Like we joke around a little bit, not too much now. You know what I'm saying? I'm still an adult, but we have fun.
This is so funny to be on this side of that conversation. Go ahead.
But two, I think, like the last part about that of like how important was it for these people to really care about me and to really like show me, friendship and mentorship, is that I know how to interact with these students now myself. Like I know I can look at it from both sides of the mirror, right? Like I know how to read between the lines. I know how to be patient or be a little graceful or be a little stern or do whatever and stuff. And I have those people from my past to thank as direct mentors or examples of like how to move in a space like this, which is something that you can't be appreciative for at least like 15, 20 years. You know what I mean?
One of the things I love about your example is you, too, are the anti-stereotype. I love to fill in the gaps with her permission. I love to fill in the gaps for my own mom and my history, single mother. And it sounds cliche, but her journey was her journey. Single mother, had my brother at 17, me at 19. Father was not ready to be a dad. And so, again, cliche, but we had to do it the hard way. And the catching the two buses to work, so that she can drop one child off at childcare, the other one off at school, get on the bus, go to work, gets hired at Erie Insurance, spends almost 40 years there, does really well for herself. Out in the suburbs right now in a beautiful home that she had built, and just enjoying her retirement. But my point is the humble beginnings that you stereotypically hear so much about, these were her humble beginnings. And she was notorious for telling young women to not use their circumstances as an excuse to underachieve. And so a lot of stereotypical themes in your childhood. You've got the poverty, you've got the single mom, you've got the projects, blah, blah, blah. What does all that have to do with my goals and my sense of purpose and my drive and everything else? And so when I think about your journey, I don't know if fatherhood is a fair game. If it's not, cool. But it's a part of your journey that I never really got a chance to hear much about. And I've watched you from third grade. How has that shaped your childhood? How's that played out? Because it's one of those things where, especially with young Black boys, in some way, shape, or fashion, it shapes the outcome. Whether it puts a chip on your shoulder, it's your North Star, whatever the situation is. How'd that play out in your life?
Mm-hmm. So definitely, I think I'm fortunate to not have daddy issues. I know my father, he lives here in the city. He, with or without bro's permission, he drinks like 36 pack of Milwaukee a day. And he's been doing that for like, at least like, I'm 26, so it's been at least 26 years, but he's, like bro's pissing blood. Like it's crazy and stuff, whatever. But he's like consistently, as I've grown up, he's consistently like just like the drunk guy doing, like saying too much and then going home to drink more because he feels bad about himself or whatever it is and stuff, whatever. It's never been, I've actually, what's crazy is like, I've actually never had like, felt bad for myself and not have my father. I've never been like, whatever, and stuff. Honestly, I'm not trying to toot nobody horn or whatever and stuff, but you and Jake have like definitely like took up like big mantles of that, like as a young child and stuff. And like, especially Jake too, cause like he was there before and after, you know what I mean?
Who was one of our mentors.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. No, the Boys and Girls Club. We used to go to the Boys. Oh. Jake was the guy at the Boys Club when we were teenagers, man. I mean, Jake is an OG in every sense of the word when it comes to mentoring, but go ahead.
Well, we're Black men, and a Black woman and a Black mother is, more powerful than, I don't know, 10 horses or whatever you want to call it and stuff. So, there's, when you're in a household with a loving mother, like, that I would like to say that I was and stuff, it's hard to miss a lot of stuff because like she is a single mom and she gonna put on both pairs of pants, you know what I'm saying? She gonna take care of everything. So I never really had to worry about like stressing about my dad. Like there were times where I wanted to see him when I was younger. My mom was like, no. And then I finally went to go see him and I was like, yeah, I ain't going back over there. And like he, now that I'm older and a bit more mature, like I can say happy birthday or this and that third to him and stuff. I hit him up and it's always like the same stuff, you know what I mean? Every now and then he does better, doesn't do better and stuff. None of that has anything to do with me. I would say when it comes to, well, for one, to answer your question, North Star, you know what I mean? I look at fatherhood like something to strive for and another accomplishment. I don't just want a nice car and a house. I want to be a husband. And I found myself lately saying this to people and stuff. I recently got broken up with over some dumb stuff, and I recently I've been talking to other people. You feel me and stuff.
He is purging online, ladies and gentlemen.
On both sides, I've been having this conversation of like I want I want nice silverware. I want a cutting board in my home. I want like a tire in my yard and stuff, whatever and stuff. Like I want to be married, not just like be with somebody and da da da. Like I would like to be married and have a family and have a wedding. I want to have a family. I want to have like family nights and game stuff, whatever. And I say this to people that and like sometimes like they look at me like I'm crazy because like my life can be so different, because like I do different things all the time or whatever and stuff. And it's like I find myself being like no, dude, like as ambitious as I may be with whatever I want to do in life, whether it's film or music or whatever and stuff, is like at the core, something like family and fatherhood is held higher than all those things and stuff, whatever. And so, by all means, I'm sure that's the way that I'm coping about it. And I have to make a point as well about coming from where I came from, being the stereotype, da da da. All of that means absolutely nothing. And I like, it's easy to say that now, but like that's something that y'all beat into my head when I was younger, and something that the world did as well and stuff, whatever. Like there are no limitations on whatever. And the way that I look at it is that, let's say you fell off today. You know what I'm saying? Like let's say you fell off and I don't know, you lost everything. I don't even want to say what that would look like, because I'm knock on wood. But the worst case scenario is like you're gonna be next to homeless. If you're lucky, maybe you can get yourself like some kind of like subsidized, I don't know the word, government housing, right? You can move into the hood and you know and pay based off of like what your income is or whatever and stuff, you know. But like and like that's like your last chance before you're homeless, you know. That's where I was born though, so it's like what like you think about what direction to move in. I can't go backwards or lower. I'm already here. I was born here. My mom was homeless when she was pregnant with me, or I think like her getting pregnant made her homeless because my grandma didn't play that. And then she was in shelters with me, and then moved into the Franklin Terrace or the John Horan Garden Apartments when I was 4 months old. That was my spawn point, like video games. Like that was my entry point. That's where the story picked up or whatever and stuff. So literally there was nowhere to go but either up or just stay there.
Yeah.
You know, like you never hear people say like, oh, like bro fell below the hood. No, they say like bro's still in the hood. Like you know, bro's still in the hood. It's either you stay there or you go somewhere else. And so I've always had the perspective of I can do anything because we're already, you know, at rock bottom, for example. You know?
Hey, like Drake say, starting from the bottom, now we're here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I love that you're working with young people, and I love that you are continuing in that pattern of mentoring and teaching and just being community and modeling what that looks like. I think as long as I'm a firm believer that when you are on your square, as they say, and you are where you're supposed to be and you're giving back to the village that has helped to raise you and meeting your spiritual and moral obligation, then good things happen. And those examples get replicated in ways, some of which you see, like you're a tangible example of some of the work that I and others have done. But then there's kids out there who are saying the same things and we don't see them. Maybe they've moved away and maybe it's the child of one of these, who knows? But I'm glad that you're doing that. And I'm glad that people are seeing through you as they've seen through so many of us. The idea of limitations is a social construct. Like you can do whatever. Doesn't matter where you start from. And who you claim to be is not based upon your circumstances. You know, a lot of my personal goals have not been based upon what I've watched my parents do. It's not been based upon what I've watched my grandparents do. I think that my grandparents and my parents did all that they've done in order to give me the opportunity for self-actualization. And I've tried to take full advantage of that. And I remember once, you know, I've said this before on air, I'm probably one of the only people who's never applied to General Electric. You know, my dad was like, well, there's some great shop jobs out there. I'm like, I don't want one. What I wanted to be, he wasn't familiar with. I'm like, that's okay. I get it. I respect what you do. It's just not what I wanted to do. So I want to pivot to this self-employment thing or this self-actualization thing, because you go from being an artistic child, looking at Will Smith saying, hey, in some way, shape, or fashion, I want to create and be creative and do that thing somehow, some way. That journey, when did that start to become a journey of occupational growth? Like, okay, it's time for me to figure out a way to eat off of this. Because that's always my great question to people. Is this a hobby or is this something you're trying to actually make a career out of? Tell us about that origin story.
Yeah, so that started in high school. You know, as I grew up and stuff, I mean, I've always been like, as an adult, it's so like being an adult is really cool because you can say things that you would never say when you were younger and stuff, whatever. So I'm happy and proud to say that as a child, I was sensitive and I was soft and I was just like a sweet little kid and definitely not built for like the environment that I was in. And as I grew up into a teenager and stuff, not much of that changed. And I found myself struggling to relate and be able to hang out with some of the young men in my neighborhood because they were doing much cooler stuff than me or whatever. I couldn't find myself to like sell drugs all day or do anything like that and stuff. And so I stopped being able to hang with these dudes because they were just chilling in cars and hanging out all day. But the one other thing that they would do that they could spend hours doing that wasn't something that I wasn't down to do was make music.
Mm.
And like they were rapping, they were looking up beats and ciphering or whatever and stuff, and being a producer and stuff. And so that's where I found like a first like use of myself. And I want to attack that. I want to attack that some other time, maybe in a different conversation. Like the one negative thing I have is like constantly in life, I feel like I need to be an asset to exist, and like that's a whole different thing.
Mm.
But anyways, this is an example of that and stuff
Okay.
where I was like, if I'm gonna be around these people or chill with these guys and stuff, whatever, it's like I gotta be useful. So I started like producing beats or recording them or shooting music videos and stuff, and it was like a way for me to connect with the people in my neighborhood, a way for me to connect with my community. And also like I started getting paid for it. And like maybe I started doing that when I was like, I know for a fact I was skipping school at like 15, 16 to go make music with my friends. Like, I just did not care because I was going through other stuff, but like that was like my way out basically and stuff. And then as I got older, through programs that like at the YMCA Teen Center and things like that and stuff, I picked up more skills, met people like John Lyons and everything,
Local filmmaker.
Jackie George,
Mhm.
who's now one of my main mentors and producer and bestie. When as I got older, turned like 18, 19, 20, started getting like apartments and stuff, whatever. That was how I paid the bills. It was like I'd have a job here and there or whatever and stuff, but maybe I'd be a couple $100 down and stuff. I'd go out and be like, who want a music video? And, just ask around, shop around. And then I got like, I think one time I did like 4 videos in a day and made like all of my rent money and some. And
Supply and demand.
and I was like, whoa, that's I don't have to do this all the time. Like I ain't got to go to work all the time. I can just do this. And I started pushing that, and with that you learn how to like be disciplined on yourself and stuff, because like just because you can do this don't mean that you can be lazy all the time or whatever. And so I had my months of hustling, but like hustling with a camera or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it turned into Patrick Fisher, who used to be the executive director of Erie Arts and Culture, and he's now the director of like Pittsburgh Arts something. You have to look that up.
Yeah, he was sharp.
He gave me an opportunity where I was able to do some documentation work for a artist here in Erie and stuff, and it was paid by Arts and Culture, so it was a real check, and it was something that I'm used to doing, and it was just like pull up to the studio, film this artist, film her art, put something together and everything. But it gave me like not just an opportunity, but like the confident milestone of like, oh, like I'm here, like I can do some of these things and stuff, And so then I started asking to do more.
Let me rewind on something that you said so that we can catch the audience up, because I can probably hear somebody say, okay, so he shot a couple of music videos, paid his rent. But I mean, let this young man know that that's not like real work. Let me catch you up on something. This is the thing that's special about Alex's journey, and it's the capacity in which I have brought him on with Black Says. If you look at the mainstream music scene, for example, rappers are a dime a dozen. As we speak, somebody's in their closet with padding all on the walls on a microphone, or in a traditional studio, or on their laptop, and they're rhyming. That is a dime a dozen. But one of the producers that just crossed over as a billionaire in this industry is a producer by the name of Dr. Dre, Andre Young. Came up from the old NWA group, Death Row Records, very notorious for working with people like Eminem, 50 Cent, yada, yada, yada. The people who can actually produce product, who can make beats, who can produce videos, who can shoot videos, who can produce tracks, those individuals are not a dime a dozen. Those are not as easy to find. The rappers, 1,000 of them in 2 hours if you audition. The person who can do that thing successfully, 1 out of every couple of hundred, maybe 1 out of every 1,000 or 2. And Alex is that individual. And so when it comes to your journey, that's the thing that I'm excited for you. I'm excited for you because that's extremely marketable, and you found that out.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, back to like not having any limitations and stuff. And two, like, there was a couple years of figuring out how I was doing what I was doing, because I've always been involved in multiple arts. So while I was doing this, music videos, I was also in plays, and I was also working at Cam Media and starting to poke my head around Feed Media Art Center and doing art shows and stuff, and still painting and performing and being in bands and stuff and everything. And it's just like it took me a little while, but like I did the artist hustle where, you know, it was like I saved my pennies and I went out and I got a gig here and a gig there and a gig there and a gig there and a gig there. And it all just started adding up and stuff. And I had my photography and my videos, and I would do weddings and this and that, but I would also like go perform with my band a couple times a month or whatever. And that would bring me income, and I would, you know, I had to learn how to navigate these things and stuff, because it's not a 9 to 5. It's a 24/7 thing, and like sleeping is a part of it.
Sometimes,
you know, yeah, like, and I think, well, I used to struggle and be like, I used to struggle at jobs and stuff, because like you do not want me to just run your cash register.
Right.
I'm not the person for that. Right. And I used to sit there and not hold jobs very well and be like, wow, am I going to be a bum? Like, am I going to end up in the hood and be like one of those quiet, depressed guys in the hood, just like not talking because I failed or something. And like, so, you know, like there's an elephant in the room that is like, my mom got cancer when I was 16. And when I was 21, she passed away, and it was horrible. But I had a decision to make of like, do I stay in my house and like cry about it today, the day after, or do I like go to work and like work through it? And like, I decided to go to work. Now, in hindsight, I should have given myself a little bit of time, but it was good. I decided to go to work. And when I did that, I kind of stepped out of one skin and into another. My mom suffered with cancer for 5 years and stuff. So like, that's a big thing, you know, during my school skipping and making music and doing all these different stuff. So whatever, you know, and so there's a big emphasis on me to like do good for myself, so that, you know, she didn't have to take care of stuff, whatever. But you know, cancer is a carnival that you're on until it stops, right? And so when that carnival ride stopped, peace and love and everything, you know. But I also had like it was like you're either gonna shed your skin or stay in this cocoon, you know what I mean? And I shed the skin, and I think something clicked in my brain and stuff where it was like, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, because like there's literally nothing holding me back, nothing holding me down, nothing like whatever and stuff. Like, you know, when my mom passed and stuff, she passed with nothing but like the most love and expectations for me to do great things, right? And that's always been something real and true about her and stuff. So when that happened when I was younger and was still building all of this and stuff, it was like, if anything and stuff, it was like a bigger obligation to continue to push and to drive and to do great things and stuff. And I'm grateful for like the things that she's instilled in me, and the amount of time that she was able to in 21 years, because now that I'm 26, it's been 5 years. Actually, she passed away on March 12th. So we just went by like the 5-year, you know, anniversary of her passing and stuff, whatever. And honestly, like, I have an apartment, like I've got a cat, I buy groceries, you know, like I'm out the hood. I'm doing everything that I want to do creatively. I have a band. I, you know, have a musical art space that I run. I'm an artist and stuff. I've got tons of friends. I'm a DJ, you know, I get to play out of town. I do all these different things. Like literally, like, I have so many times where I look at myself and I'm like, yo, Lil Sav would like look up to me. You know, like Lil Sav would like literally be so inspired by
You'd be
who
his
I
guy
am and stuff, you know? And it definitely came with so much heartache and sacrifice and trudging through the mud and like all that kind of stuff. But that's also like your ammunition as an artist. So it kind of just comes hand in hand and stuff, whatever. But yeah, like, so at, you know, around 21 and everything and stuff, even though it was just like the artist hustle of like, let me do some photos for you, or let me do some video stuff, or let me do this or do that or whatever and stuff, I was also going through some of the hardest points in my life and had to like overcome those things. Just like my boys out here hustling in the streets when they're going through whatever they're going through. Like there's a different level of like mindset that comes with that and growth that comes from that when you get through it. So like that's my piece on that one, you know.
The story I've told before, and you may not have heard me tell this, when I got hired at the Y Kids Club, I was going through a nasty divorce. A very nasty divorce. A soul-shaking, cry in the corner divorce, man. And it wrecked my world. And what I discovered I'd be at the kids club with you and the rest of these kids. And in that point of my life, I was getting more out of it than the kids. You know, like the kids had no idea how much healing I got from these relationships, because kids are just kids and they do the things that kids do and they say the things that kids say. And it was this relationship with these kids that I was influencing and engaging with that just made me feel day by day by day, okay, it's going to be okay.
Yeah, kids do not care about your divorce.
Right, right. And, you know, you feel like the world is falling down around you, and the kids grounded me like, hey, we're here, you know, and just reminded you of the little things. On the career tip, hats off, because listen, for a 26-year-old creative, you're killing it. I'm a creative. I was not doing all of this from an occupational standpoint at 26. But I'm going to tell you something, and I know Chuck hates when I say this, because Chuck cannot stand this man. Every time I bring up Rush Limbaugh, he's like, do not bring him up. I got to do it. The godfather of conservative talk, the godfather of talk, period. And I've often said when he was alive and I listened to him, I disagreed with him more often than not. But I loved his presentation, and I loved the fact that he was a deep thinker and he challenged people. I don't care if you like him. I don't care if you agree with him. Boy, he challenged everybody's thought process. And if you didn't agree with him, you had to wrestle with everything that he said. But here's my point. He tells his story. He got fired from several jobs. This is by far the highest paid person ever in talk radio, ever. I mean, like Sean Hannity used to say, I'm number 2, but it's like a distant number 2. Rush made ungodly amounts of money. He was extremely successful. You need a different word for it. But he kept getting fired from his jobs, to your point of, you don't want me running your cash register. And he was just like, I'm not good at this work thing. And it made him feel like a failure. And he asked a friend of his, I got fired again. Hey, man, what should I, give me, you know me. What should I do? He said, what do you love doing, Rush? He said, I love talking on the radio, man. It just makes me feel alive. He said, Rush, that's what you got to do. He said, I wouldn't have the slightest idea of how I would pay my bills from talking on the radio. And his friend was like, I don't know either, but you got to figure it out. That's what you're passionate about. I am a firm believer that if it's what you are really, really feeling from your soul and you pour yourself into that thing, you can figure out a way to pay your bill. Caesar Westbrook, working artist.
Yeah.
You tell somebody you want to be an artist, yeah, you got to figure out a way to pay the bills. And he's a young man. Not so, this isn't Hemingway, you know, with the gray hair and the beard, off smoking the pipe somewhere. He's a young, svelte man, and he has figured out a way for his passion, his creativity, and his discipline to also be his career. That to me is, if you never make $1 million at it, you can pay your bills from doing what you love on your terms. Man, you talk about the dream. So you pinch yourself all the time when you wake up under these circumstances, I bet.
Yes, I get spoiled about it sometimes and stuff, whatever. And it is nice to look back and think about how things were before and stuff. But also too, like, it comes with the hard work as well. You know, like if you there's no stability here. Like if you fall off, you fall off.
That's right.
You know, like you gotta put it in. And now I found that I'm addicted to this rat race that it is. You know, like like it's a heavy drive. This industry that is like art and music and like all that kind of stuff is the rabbit hole goes very deep, you know, and like you gonna get eaten alive or you won't, you know, and you got to be in there swimming and stuff, going with the current, against the current, whatever, however things move and stuff. And I find that very fascinating, and I like being in that or whatever, because I get bored. You know what I'm saying? I can't, like, especially how I grew up, my mom taking me everywhere and doing whatever I needed to. I get bored quick and fast and stuff. Like I don't care if it's the football season or whatever. Like that's going to keep me here for how long? You know what I mean? And stuff like I need constant everything. You know what I'm saying? Back to you doing it at the teen center or even the kids club. We used to do 2 plays a year. Just like, I don't know, one in the spring, one in the fall or something like that. And like I just always had something to do. It was basketball, it was soccer, it was a play, and then there was another play, and then whatever and stuff. Like there was just always something to do, and I fiend for it even more now, because now that you're an adult, there is not no like Boys and Girls Club to go to. Like, you got to make it up yourself.
That's
you know?
right. That's right. And entrepreneurship is like watching National Geographic. You know, you watch each, I don't care if it's the bird or the Komodo dragon, the wildebeest, every one of them gets up in the morning and said, okay, now how am I going to eat?
Yeah.
And if you don't hunt it down, if you don't find it, you don't eat. This is the life of being an entrepreneur. So you're talking about this hard work. If you don't hunt, you don't eat.
It used to be exciting, you know, like waking up and being like, well, how am I going to get to it today? Like there was a moment where like I didn't have to work or whatever, but I still needed to like really get to the money. And so I'd wake up and be like, okay, I don't got no one barking down my back, but what are we doing today? You know,
Yeah.
and it was like, there's like kind of like a rush to that, I guess. But then now it's like a bit more refined because it's like I'm maintaining stuff, you know, it's like, okay, I need to show up to week 3 of 6 to this class that I'm teaching, or, you know, I got to go do my Thursday thing with the children, or I got to go do this, you know what I mean? And stuff. And it's more so like the stability that I've built under myself is more like a bubble now. It's not quite made out of brick yet, but it's a bubble that like, as long as I, you know, just keep on my loop and keep on my cycle and stuff, that bubble will stay good, firm, and perhaps even grow a little bit more. You know what I mean?
So let's bring this up to modern times right now, because I start this new venture, Black Access Media. And first person I think about when I think about the tech setup was you. I'm like, oh, this feels like the perfect opportunity for me to reach back to my young Padawan who is now matured into this adult tech guru and bring him on board. And so this has been a labor of love for me. And it's a shared new territory, a new venture for both of us, because we've both been involved with media and the arts and things along those lines. I am addicted to the growth, you know, aspect of business. I don't care if it's Eastside Renaissance, when I was at Cerveri, when I was at the Y Kids Club or the Teen Center. The thing that's always driven me, one of the things that's always driven me, is I love building things and I love seeing it come together. And it's something about taking something from concept to a full presentation that the public can not just see, feel, and hear, but engage with. That just fills me up like no other. And so this is a new venture for me. It's a part of the goals that I had for myself, but it's new. And even though you've done media, this is a new venture for you. And so talk about not just this, but some of the things that you're doing. What does the immediate future look like? What are you putting your hands to, and what do you want to grow into?
Absolutely. So, I mean, as far as like tech stuff goes and everything, you know, running this is awesome. It's like the newest thing that I've ever done. I've never run like radio stuff before, you know, like music videos and film stuff and everything, whatever. But this like required me to like learn new software, new proprietary software. And it's actually like really cool and fun. And it's also like some next level tech stuff for all my tech people out there. Like, you know, we're not talking about mounting a TV.
Lying.
Like this is like we are on the back end of it. Like there's like we're like, I don't know, we're typing in IP addresses. It's weird. Like we're doing stuff like that. I don't know how else to explain it. It's stuff that I still don't know.
Listen, let me shout out to the owner of Lilly Broadcasting, Brian Lilly. Because when I had this conversation with Brian, I'll never forget him sitting there, and I'll never forget that like smile on his face as he kind of listened to me and shook his head. And I said, I now think back to that conversation, and he was probably thinking, careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Careful what you wish for. Because now that we're in it, I'm like, oh, I was prepared. Obviously, we've gotten to this point. And I can tell you the setup process has been arduous. Mm-hmm. It has been lengthy, and the T crossing and the I dotting. There's no such thing. From the tech perspective, from the business perspective, if we weren't ready, we wouldn't be here on the air talking about it now, because it would have chased either one of us from either end away from the table by now, because it has been a very detailed setup. But this is one of those situations where, okay, you wanted to hit next level. This is what it looks like, right? And so we're in it now. So you're doing this. What about on the personal side? You run your own club. You're doing your DJ thing. You got your band. You got a lot of creative stuff going. What's next level for that? You've added this. Now what?
So for the last 2 years, I've run STEM City Collective with other people, but for the last 6 months, it's just been myself. STEM City is a non-alcoholic dance hall that takes place at a media arts center. So there's like projectors and TVs that have art on them. We're open from like 10 to 5 on Saturdays. It's a weekly specialized event. So, you know, every event has a different theme. Nowadays, I'm booking people from here all the way down to Pittsburgh constantly.
And that's 10 p.m. to 5 a.m.
10 p.m. to 5 a.m.
So for the old folk listening, this ain't for you.
It's not.
Because we are in jammies, watching the news, drifting off by then. But go ahead.
Might be waking up by the time we're closing, you know. But we've been operating in like the main hall of an art gallery, but I think we're gonna move into one of the corner buildings owned by the same owner of the art gallery over at Feed Media Art Center, and you know, we're gonna do it's scary, but I'm gonna do a triple net lease. I know what I'm getting into with that, but you know, we're gonna take over the building, and you know, I have ambitions of you know, having artist studios, storage space for people that, you know, want to be able to access things downtown. If the Democrats want to get back in there, they can go in there. It's that building on the corner of 13th and State. And then of course I'm gonna hold STEM City there. And also on the top floor, like we have like advertising space that's viewable to State Street. So I see a lot of potential in that building. And then also I'm looking at the potentiality of creating an upscale cocktail bar here in the city for the older crowd. So that's what y'all can come to. And
it's needed.
This one is like my first real, just like I need like a stable endeavor. You know, I've been running the rave, so to speak, for a while now and stuff. And so I know how to run something. I know how to do the music and whatever and stuff. But you know, and I do it for love, but I need to add some stuff in here for money as well if we're gonna like really take things up to the next notch. So I'm interested I'm looking around a couple places and stuff to implement like a high end cocktail bar, early hours. We're talking like 2 p.m. to 11, you know what I mean, and stuff. No, what do you call it? No riffraff or whatever and stuff. We're talking like dress code, snakeskin shoes, and Cosmos.
Let me seize on that because we're getting close to time. Back to the listener, let me educate you a little bit more on that, because what you may or may not know, if you are an African-American professional or just an African-American older person, mature person who is about their business, you're not about trouble, you don't hang on the block, you're a person who has their career, their family, whatever, mainstream Black adult in Erie, you do not have nightlife options. You have very street options or very homogeneously white options. Those are the two. And you may or may not know that. And so when he's talking about that, he's talking about filling a void that he knows good and well exists. There's no place for the mature Black to go in Erie to have their Cosmos, and you can take your wife, you know, and you don't have to worry about stuff going down. We are extremely limited where that's concerned. But let me ask you this before we end. You said that young Sav would look at this current Sav and be like, that's my guy. I look up to him. I like him. What does, I'm 55. What does the 55-year-old version of Sav look like if all of your goals come to fruition? Mm-hmm. What does that middle-aged Sav look like?
I have a club in Miami, South Beach, in particular. That's what
I've been there. I see why you want to go to South Beach.
Yeah, we are moving towards that. I showed art in Miami Art Week back in 2022, 2023 or something like that. Fell in love with South Beach, fell in love with some of the clubs out there and stuff, saw the business model just real fast. We got like a couple minutes here and stuff. Dude, $100 to just walk in there. The capacity for some of these places are 10,000.
Wow.
They're open for 24 hours. So even just 10,000 people, let's say 10,000 people walked in and stayed there for 24 hours, times 100, that's $100,000. But it's not like that because people come in and come out because they want to go to the other clubs. So a revolving door of 10,000 people just to walk in there is $100,000. They haven't even bought the liquor yet. You know, now you're buying liquor. Now you have an artist there. They're buying tickets. It's insanity. Now, of course, I'm sure you're paying high prices and this and that, you know, for, you know, the real estate and the property and the utilities and the staffing and everything and stuff. But that is, I love running stuff like that. I would love that. Like, it's beautiful down there. The heat is amazing. The water is amazing. The air is amazing. And then like the whole just scene out there with the music and the culture and stuff. A beautiful, like that's, and so if everything that I want to happen goes well by the time that I'm 45 or 54, I will be in Miami with my own club in South Beach.
Well, that's a great place to end this. Listen, Alex, aka Young Sav, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show, on this side of the show. Anyways, you're always in the background producing, but it's been a pleasure having you, and I love the fact that you are showing the next generation all of the possibilities. Keep doing that thing. I think that you are going to have wild success in everything you put your hand to, as long as you keep the faith and keep doing everything that you're doing. And as for you, the audience, that is it for our show. That's another edition of Next with Marcus Atkinson. Now simulcast on WQLN and Black Access Media, which is 92.7 FM, WICU HD2. We are still being broadcast every fourth Sunday of the month on WQLN. You can catch us on 93.7 at 4 p.m. as well. To stay connected, visit www.blackaccess927.com and follow Black Access Media on Instagram and Facebook for updates, content, and more from the culture. And don't forget to join the Black Access community page on Facebook. This is your place to share feedback, suggest show ideas, and help shape the conversations that you want to hear. Until next time, keep your voice heard and keep it locked right here on Black Access 927 FM. Peace.